So somebody asked on Twitter, why do I think, it's important to have these premises to start off the argument? And I think they're important for a number of different reasons. One is that, every argument is based on certain, axioms, some inscrutable premises that, no further reduction in argument, seems to be satisfactory. Otherwise, you get into a circular argument. I don't think that these are irreducible axioms per se. Maybe to, some of them are, some of them might not be. But you could spend a lot of time arguing about stuff that doesn't matter so much when, the majority of persons are going to have a certain view, and you may not have to work so hard to argue for these very fundamental axioms if most people already agree with you. And then the few minority who doesn't, I'm not saying that's an argument for a majority or opinion or anything, but in terms of actual work spent arguing, you might want to spend more of your effective time trying to be persuasive to people who already agree with the more fundamental axioms. Well, anyway, so the first one, and it's something I realized in the past few days that might be necessary. It may already be assumed by my previous first premise that all human ethical claims are equivalent or should be considered analyzed equal. But this idea that people have choice and free will, why is that first premise, important or significant? Well, so the best way, I guess, to illustrate the significance of any of these premises is to really deny them and see what happens in terms of the ethical consequences. So let's deny this premise that I have, starting out this argument for the basis of natural rights, and let's deny the premise that the first premise I have is that people make choices, that human beings at a certain level have a certain amount of free will. So let's deny that and see what the significant consequences of the denial of that first premise is. Well, if you deny the fact that people have free will, that they at some level make meaningful choices, that's not to say that they are not influenced by their environments and upbringing and DNA and whatever other cause, but that to some significant way they can make choices based on their own free will, based on their own ideas, based on their own minds. So if we deny this, then really I think you deny any basis for a system of ethics at all. Simply because if people don't make choices, then they are simply acting or behaving as they're programmed to do, as they're determined to do. If people don't have free will, you do have a philosophical determinism, which means ethics really isn't possible. It doesn't really make sense to say a tree should act in a way different than it does. I think, in essence, all ethics assumes that human beings have choice, because if we don't have choice, then we merely do what we are programmed to do by nature and natural laws, not to be confused with the ethics of natural law, and then really it doesn't make any sense to say that something that is determined should be something other than it is, or that it should do something other than it does, because it's just determined that way.